North Alaska Corlia. Minister, I want to welcome the amendments to this bill that have deleted the censorship elements of the bill. I have no doubt that they're being ditched because of the groundswell of opposition that exists against the bill in its former state. And I have no doubt as well that Simon Harris is better at reading opinion polls than Leo Varadkar, and that's probably one of the reasons why that we've seen this significant change in recent times. But it has to be said, and it has to be put on the record, Minister, that this bill has been a fiasco, in truth. Whatever way you look at it, this bill is a mess of your making, Minister. I've never seen a minister come into this House waving the white flag of surrender in a manner such as this. I've never seen a minister amend a bill against her will that she's already passed through this House and say at the same time that she is regretting the deletion of the aspects of that bill. I will say from the start that Aontú were the only political party in this stall to oppose all the elements of this bill. And many in the opposition or the other political parties will have tried to cut stripes off us, give us, tried to pigeonhole us, for example, for voicing what we did at the start of the debate. And I think it's really important that we remember what a democracy looks like. A democracy doesn't mean that every political party follows the latest intellectual fashion, such as sheep. A democracy is about challenging and questioning and pushing a government on all aspects of their programme to make sure that it's fit for purpose in relation to the state. I do want to report a crime here today, though, Minister. I want to say that I woke up this morning and there wasn't a stitch left in my wardrobe, and the reason being is because I think Sinn Féin are robbing all my clothes at the moment. It's incredible that I welcome McCarthy's speech here today, for sure. It's just a pity that Sinn Féin couldn't give that speech when the bill went through the Dáil in its first iteration. And Deputy McCarthy also mentioned the confusion over the confused definitions of durable relationships within the referendums gone by, but he forgot to indicate that Sinn Féin also supported those particular referendums as well. A democracy is about the engine of challenge. The way to get to the truth is when ideas compete with each other, and the best ideas percolate to the top. People, the citizens, can see what are the best ideas, and that's how you achieve progress. And the problem with this bill in its first iteration was that it actually sought to create a chilling effect over democratic debate. And that chilling effect would have the effect of large pendulum swings of ideology within democracy. And that is dangerous for society. The government also asked us at the time to accept their bona fides in terms of this bill. But legislation is not just for a particular government. Legislations are for all governments that happen from there on out. And governments aren't always benign, is the truth of the matter. And that's why it's really important that we have legislation that stands the test in terms of potential future governments and what they will do in our society. There is hate in our society. There is tremendous harm being done in our society, and we need to tackle that tooth and nail right through society. I believe that we need to do it through education. I believe we need to do it in relation to bringing up our children with respect. And I do believe that we should use a full vigour of the law as it stands to challenge hate and damage that results within society. And it shocks me, though, because I do feel there's a little bit of virtue signalling going on with this bill. And what I mean by that is that the government says it wants to protect citizens with this bill. But at the same time, the government won't invest into the Garda force to protect citizens. So I was asked, for example, after the RTE Investigates programme on the horrendous crimes that took place outside of the Crown Paints factory in Coolock, would that not be an argument for the hate speech bill? And I was just dumbfounded because there was so much actual crimes happening at the time that were against the actual law at the time, and the actual Garda force weren't implementing the law at the time. So if you're not going to fund and resource the Gardaí, if you're not going to reform the absolute confused mismanagement that exists at the upper tiers of the Gardaí at the moment, you're not going to get to the heart of protecting people. And it's incredible that we had the head of the Gardaí, Drew Harris, state that there would be a full investigation into what happened in the Dublin riots. And that you yourself, Minister, said that there would be a full investigation in what happened to the Dublin riots. I've seen no report in relation to that investigation as of yet. I've seen no report published, I've seen no recommendations made, and I've seen no recommendations implemented. And I bet you, your bottom dollar, we won't see a report or recommendations. So it's meaningless to create these virtue signalling bills if you don't mean business in relation to resourcing the Garda force that is necessary to implement the law on this. And there is a problem with the definitions of these bills, and that is the truth of it. And if you're going to criminalise an individual, you should have the common decency to let people know exactly why you're criminalising them. In other words, to be able to create a definition. And that was sorely missing, and is missing still, I believe, from the bill as it stands. If I asked a child, what is an apple? And a child said to me, well, an apple is an apple, I would accept a circular argument in relation to that definition. But I would not accept a Minister for Justice seeking to criminalise an individual with exactly the same circular type argument. It's just not acceptable, Minister. It's not good enough by half. And that goes to the heart of this. In terms of the definition of gender, that definition is not good enough. You cannot protect people if you can't define what gender they are. In relation to the Gender Recognition Act, I said very, very, very clearly that if you have a situation where you will put male-born sex offenders into women's prisons, it will damage the rights of women inside those prisons. It will damage the rights of women who are working in those prisons as well. For the limit of one citizen is where it infringes, the limit of the human rights of one citizen is where it infringes on the human rights of another citizen. And if you can't define who those citizens are, you have a recipe for disaster in relation to that. And indeed, there's a court case at the moment as a result of a decision of your government to place a male-born sex offender into a women's prison. And I would really ask the Minister, we have to legislate on the basis of science and evidence. We cannot legislate on the basis of ideology, especially when most European countries are now actually reversing from that ideology at the moment. Gurmila Margaret.